Hi there, this is Outdoor Gear Chat. Welcome along. My name's Wayne. I'm joined as always by Cathy, and we're talking episode 49, and this is the third in our series of specials on waterproofs and waterproofing. Hiya, Cathy, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Wayne. And back in my happy nerdy geekery place again for this episode. Obviously, we've already spoken about new or why the new waterproof fabrics coming in, why that's a good thing for the planet and for us as a species, I suppose, looking at it in the big picture. And then we've also spoken about how we look at those fabrics, how how they're actually physically changing, and what that means to us as users, and particularly more for people who've had jackets for waterproof jackets for years. They've had their Gore-Tex jacket hanging up in the cupboard, and it's performed in a certain way, and it's been fantastic. Now when they're coming to buy a new one with the new fabrics, it's going to behave a little differently. So it's really important for folks to know that. And of course, with shifting baselines, anybody who's coming into the outdoors and learning the delights of going out into green spaces and how good that is for well-being. If they're coming in and just starting to buy their waterproofs, this is gonna be what they're used to. So, but all good kit, no matter how much it costs, need to be looked after and it needs to be maintained. So today on this episode, we have Tim Francis with us from Grangers, and Tim is the regional trainer and account manager. He looks after our shops at Joe Brown's in North Wales and the Climbers Shop in Ambleside. So we get to see him quite often. And we're going to talk about how easy it is, basically, to wash and maintain your lovely waterproof garments and to help make them last longer. So welcome, Tim.
Welcome,
Hi,
Tim.
Cathy. Yeah, really good to chat with you, Wayne. Also, really good to meet you both as well. Yeah, excited. Looking forward to the chat.
And yeah, it's it just amused me, Cathy saying there, like how almost like how you should be looking after your stuff, and reflecting on my own experiences of the sporadic nature in which I look after my kit at the moment. Yeah, no, it's I guess yeah, how should we be looking after our waterproofs already? If I've got a jacket that I've had, blimey, 20 years.
Yeah.
What should I be doing with that as at the moment?
Yeah, it's a good question, Wayne. It's a great question, and that's you're not the first person to ask that. That's quite common. I think the first protocol is it's a bit of a debunking myth. I think in terms of people buy waterproofs and they go, oh, it's a waterproof, it's going to last me, and I don't need to do anything with it, and that's it. Um, if you did that with any other item of clothing, like your pair of socks, your jumper, your fleece, like like you just wouldn't do that, long story short, would you? I think if you did that and came out with a pair of socks you've not washed for like 10 years, like we'd all look at you slightly weird way, and I expect. And I think that's the same with waterproofing. Typically, the myth prevailing is that they don't need aftercare. They're good to go, and we just put them back away. Or there's also that sort of fear factor of not knowing how to look after it as well, and that sort of side of it. And I think from my role, one of the biggest things I see is it's an education piece of talking to consumers, talking to retailers, and making sure that people are aware that like aftercare doesn't have to be complicated. It can be quite a simple process if you do it right and if you look after your jacket properly with the right products, like from the get-go.
Yeah. And that I think that's it. That's it. There's a little bit of fear associated because I've spent a lot of money on a jacket. Let's
Yeah,
use that example. Yeah, I've spent a couple £100 on a coat,
yeah,
and I'm like, and then suddenly I look in the label inside the coat, and I'm not I don't know what all those little symbols mean. And
yeah.
yeah, how that interacts with my washing machine, and yeah, I don't want it's very expensive, and I don't want to get it hot because that might melt it. For example, I guess that's where some people's heads at.
That's yeah. Again, that is one thought as well. That is one thought as well. If you were to look at, I suppose, items in a similar bracket, like suits, for example, you would take it to dry cleaners and you would let them sort it. There are ways, again. like where you can like you can send your jacket away to be reproofed. That's something obviously that's something that we can do through Grangers as well, and there are other services that do that, and a lot of brands that will also help to provide that sort of service for you. But also, it's very much something that you can do at home yourself, and you can educate yourself on. Um, and I think certainly from a Grangers point of view, uh, we would definitely advise like you can do it yourself, learn how to do it. It's not complicated. It's a case of like reading and learning about the products, and also reading and learning how that works with the specific products in question. So like in this chat, like we're talking waterproofing. I think high heat is something to stick away from, long story short, using stuff on low settings. So yeah.
Oh, and that was perfectly Blue Peter, because Cathy, I think have you got a waterproof beside you
I
in True
do.
Blue Peter?
I
Here's one
have
I
some
prepared earlier.
jackets I've prepared earlier.
Fantastic. We should give you another badge there, Cathy.
Yeah.
You have a collection.
Yeah, exactly.
These are our anniversary badges, these ones, because the shops are well, the Ambleside shop, our climber shop in Ambleside, is 65 years old this year.
Really, wow.
Yeah, and our shops in Wales are well, they'll be 60 in 2 years' time. So obviously we've owned them from the outset, and I have amazing moisturisers that make them so young.
As a
I can
quick
easily.
digression, sorry, as a quick digression from that, Cathy, actually, as I started climbing, my first guidebook I bought was from your shop actually many years
Oh yeah,
ago.
Awesome.
awesome. And have you still got it?
I've still got it, yeah,
Yes,
still got it.
everybody keeps
Slightly
it
more
first.
crumpled.
So for that,
Excellent.
yeah, for those of you listening on podcast, Cathy's adorned with a few pin badges from the Climber Shop and Joe Brown's, aren't you? Well, yeah. What's the one on the?
This one?
You're right. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is our living wage badge. So we've pledged for the last 3 years to pay the real living wage. So that's calculated separately from the government, and that's calculated on the actual living costs. So that's a commitment to our staff, that one.
Cool. Oh, good one. Anyway, sorry, digressing. Sorry,
Yeah,
I just
back
wanted
to the
to explain for those
waterproof.
listening. Yeah, back to the waterproof.
If you are looking on YouTube, you'll be able to see that I've got 3 jackets here actually, and I thought I'd just talk through where to find those care labels, because they're in different places on different garments, and also they'll say different things depending on the type of waterproof fabric that your garment is made from. So I've got a Gore garment here from Mountain Equipment. And you've got all the little care symbols on. They can look a bit voodoo, but there's lots of lovely websites that can help you understand those. But underneath it does say in English, wash at 40 degrees C using liquid detergent, rinse twice, do not use powder detergent or fabric softeners, do not bleach, line dry or tumble dry, once dry, tumble dry for 20 minutes more, or iron warm to reactivate water repellent treatment, or professionally dry clean. There we go. So that gives you, you don't even need to understand the little symbols. It gives you the full lowdown there.
And that's it.
Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, Tim, go on.
I was just going to say, sorry, go on, Wayne. You go.
I was going. Well, the tumble drying and ironing bit is a new one on me, to be honest. I'd not heard that until recently. So that was I didn't realize that you could or potentially should do that.
Yeah, so the heat actually reactivates the DWR treatment, that durable water repellency treatment. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to the first 2 podcasts yet, do have a listen, because that really explains in depth exactly what a DWR treatment is, why it's on your jacket, and how it helps your jacket perform at its optimum, and how it can really how it works can mean the difference between your jacket feeling a little bit clammy, and perhaps it's easy for people to think that their jacket's failing or leaking, but actually in reality it's not. The water can't get to you unless the waterproof fabric itself has been punctured in some way. So I'm going to use a super lightweight running Montaigne jacket now, which is their own waterproof fabric. And looking at that one, that says that gives all sorts of information. It says wash at 30 degrees. And this one says do not tumble dry, but you can warm iron. So that one, just because of the components and the makeup of the fabric, that's just suggesting that you use an iron, not a tumble dryer. So always worth a look. That label is actually on the inside, sewn on the inside left of the garment, which I believe is the international standard. However, with waterproofs, you will find the labels either also sewn into the neck of the garment sometimes, or they'll be in the zipped pocket of a garment on the left-hand side as well. And this one coming out here has got all sorts of information. It's got a Gore-Tex label separate. It's a RAB product, and that also gives a full explanation. Wash at 40, rinse twice, using a liquid detergent. Do not use powder detergent, fabric softener or bleach. Line dry or tumble dry, and once dry, tumble dry for 20 minutes more, or iron warm to reactivate water repellent treatment. And it does say you can get it dry cleaned as well, but there's special instructions you need to give your dry cleaner, because they might not be au fait with the different fabrics. So there's a world of information right there in your jacket, explaining how best to care for it. So that's a really good place to start.
And then putting that into the context of your product, obviously, Tim, how do our products rather, how do we use your, how does your piece play into that, if you will?
Yeah, so I think from our side, really, we would always defer to like the manufacturer in terms of what the recommendations are for each product. Like we've just had a good example there from Cathy of two jackets that are in that sort of waterproof category that like aren't that you would treat very differently, really. From a Grangers point of view, our product line, we would say, doesn't need to be heat activated to work. However, like heat can be beneficial, and we would always sort of work with the products in question. So for instance, like the RAB products, like if it's like if it was like to say heat activation is a good thing, and as you would see with quite a lot of Gore-Tex products, like that would be something that's absolutely okay to do with Grangers. And again, same with the Montaigne products as well. Like, yeah, that's fine. That's good to go. And we do a variety of different options there from like we do like your standard two-part, as it's most typically known, your two-part like wash it and then add your repellency separate with two washing machine cycles, and then we do a spray-on repellency as well, which again I think is a fantastic product and a big fan of sort of for the sports that I engage in. And also we do a two-in-one wash as well, which is designed to do your wash and your repellency in the same wash. And again, that's a product that I'm a massive fan of as well, and it performs really, really well. We sort of see it to a really high standard. So yeah.
So yeah, just explain a little bit more like the spray on, because I've used those before, but yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah, how does that work, and what sort of kit would you use that on? What sort of sports are you doing, where that'd be useful then?
So for me, I am a very, very keen cyclist. I'll be out 2 to 3 times a week minimum. If I could be out every day, I would be. And it's typically kit that, depending on the product, it's typically kit that's not necessarily getting an absolute hammering. I'm not falling off an awful lot or anything if I'm mountain biking. And road cycling, again, it's stuff that's like my jacket's typically in and out of my back pocket. And then I throw it on, like maybe if I'm going up Kirkstone Pass in the Lake District. Obviously, Cathy, you'll be familiar with that one.
Oh yeah, I've cycled it many times.
There you go, brilliant. But then I might get to the top of a pass and then put my jacket on and then look down at my sleeves and be like, oh, I've got like patches where the DWR isn't working, for example, and I might need to just reactivate that, or I might also just be in the bracket of not wanting to wash a jacket twice, and I just want to apply a repellency afterwards. So for that example, Wayne, we would look to like wash a jacket. Again, with like I say, for ourselves, we'd use performance wash. And then apply it onto a damp jacket, a damp clean jacket, and then just sort of wipe off the residue afterwards. So it's super easy to use, super easy to use. Really good for like the whole sort of the whole purpose, but also those touch-ups in between washes.
Awesome. And I've like blagged like tents with that stuff before as well, where there's a little bit of tent going, and I'm like, well, actually, I'll spray some of this on and see what happens, and it's worked absolutely brilliantly. Actually, it's been and I'm not sure whether that's designed for that purpose or not, but it's definitely worked for me as well. Yeah.
Technically, no, we've got a specific tent one as well, but that's for another chat probably. But yeah, glad you found it useful.
Yeah, awesome.
I think that a really key point to pick up there, Tim, is for people to know when is the time to reproof their garment. And you were saying, you can start seeing patches, and what that would look like in use is that patch starting to go dark, and you can't see that water beading, turning into little beads and running off like it would do on a fabric or a top that's not porous. So if you can start seeing little dark patches, if the water isn't running off as it still is in other parts of your jacket, then that's when you need to think about reproofing. And with the new coatings that are coming in on the new fabrics, you're going to see that happening a lot more than you would have traditionally in your older sort of 20-year-old jacket, just because those chemicals are needing to change for the better for the environment.
Yeah, it's a big change sort of coming in, I think, in the industry, but I think it's an exciting change also.
It is.
It's leading to a lot of innovation, I think, as well, which is a good thing. I think we've had it very, very, very well, I think, for a long time, really, and it's been a big journey, I think, gone from when, like, I suppose, like when waterproof was started to develop. And I think with Gore and Gore-Tex, like, you're looking at like a 40-year journey to get to where they got to. So I think, again, we've had some changes. We are leading through a period of innovation, which is really exciting. And I think it's just embracing the journey and going forward with the new membranes and the technology and how it will develop over the next few years.
And that, just describe a little bit more about the changes for your product then. What will that mean for us as consumers as far as treating our kit goes going forward?
Yeah, so again, like we're PFAS free, so for us this isn't anything new. We are we work with Blue Sign, which is something you'll see on a lot of jackets coming through, where the membrane is like a Blue Sign approved membrane. We work with Blue Sign as a systems partner. So I suppose in a quick look at Blue Sign without going into detail, Blue Sign basically looks at the ethics and the environmental impacts like that a company would have. So for us, that's obviously waterproofing and the chemicals we use. We've been with Blue Sign since 2007, so so it's nothing new for us, and it's like a world first for us, really. We've been with them for a long time, so it's almost like stuff's catching up to where we are. So we're quite excited, and it's nice to see it being embraced industry wide.
And yeah, if the PFAS thing, you need to go back and go to episode 47, and Debbie from Rab will explain all about PFAS. We're not going to go into that with Tim today, because that blew my mind when we spoke about.
I did come across a nerdy fact actually while I was doing some research, and PFAS, the evil chemicals, we'll call them the evil chemicals because they're not natural to the environment, but there's obviously been all this talk about or a reticence to bring in legislation because there's no proof, or it hasn't been proof, that they're absolutely linked to toxicity for humans. But and I was like, well, surely, there must be a link. How can there not be a link? And why do we need to wait to a link if we know it's not a good thing anyway? But the reason is there's over 14,000 different types of PFAS. So trying to pin one of those onto a guaranteed link to sickness in humans and in the environment is going to be nigh on impossible, isn't it? So generally speaking, yeah, they're nasties, and it's a really, really, really good thing that they're leaving and going away. Or certainly in our outdoor industry anyway. They obviously, they're so broad. Nobody wants to drive a vehicle that is no longer, fire retardant. But it's certainly in our industry, that's what the big strive is for. And it's fantastic to hear that Tim's been working and Grangers have been working with Blue Sign for so long, because it is, as you say, all of these levels and have been there for ages to protect the environment. And as outdoor users, we should all do so. And now we're coming up onto a level. And we should all be educated consumers. It's important.
And it's not just our industry that's affected as well. I think that's important to note as well. It's not just our industry that's affected. This is going like across an awful lot of industries as well. Obviously, frying pans is an easy one with Teflon as well. 3M again, they're also stopping to make forever chemicals as well. They're stopping to do that as well, starting in 2025. So it's not just ourselves that are affected here. It's yeah, it should be quite normal.
Yeah.
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 We don't want to be introducing stuff that can't be got rid of, I guess is probably an easy way to put it, isn't it? Sorry, I've lost my thread on where my questions were now. I guess are we going to be able to expect that kit's going to last as long as it has done? And I know we were asking the other guest that we had on as well. What do you reckon on that front, Tim? Is it will kit be are we going to be able to buy a jacket and it'll last 15, 20 years, for example?
Well, I think the important thing here typically is I think like we've got like we've done it a few years ago. I think it was 2021, 22. We did like a wear and care survey, which is available on the Grangers website if people wanted to have a look at it. And that was basically a year's worth of study looking at this sort of stuff. Typically people's jackets, like you say, some people's jackets are lasting like 15, 20 years. Like I've got a couple that have lasted 10 years. They're not my first choice for going on a hill, but I've still got them. But I think as a general, typically people are replacing them like within sort of a 3 to 5 year period anyway. Whether that's a case of like changing fashion or just having the latest and greatest, it's not necessarily the jacket's wearing out. But yeah, I think from our side, we'd sort of say with proper care, you should still be getting a really good lifetime of use out of your jacket.
And it's keeping things out of landfill is only a good thing, or keeping them out for as long as possible, because obviously they're eventually going to land up in there. I thought it was really interesting that wear and care survey, Tim. It is a huge survey. If you're sitting down, it's like be warned, there's 70 pages, but there's a very nice video that just condenses it all down on your website as well. There's a huge amount of data there, for us all to draw information from. And I thought one of the really interesting sort of statements that it made was that simply by maintaining your kit and using it for like an extra 9 months over what you would normally do, that can actually reduce a garment's carbon footprint by 30%, because obviously the carbon footprint of a garment is lessened for the length of time that you use it. So I thought that was actually really interesting, and there was lots of kind of information and figures in that report that got me really thinking about when we choose to throw things away or choose to pass them on, or how we choose to dispose of them, I think is probably the better word. And there was some pretty shocking statistics on how quickly we get rid of stuff. But I think one of the things I'm guilty of is I've got sort of garments that I've used, and they're absolutely perfect. There's no stitching errors, there's no wear to the fabric. The components that have been used in that garment are just absolutely superb. But particularly with base layers, I don't go out on a run with other people while I'm wearing it, because it comes out of the washing machine, it's like, oh, that's okay, and then 20 minutes later up the first hill, it's like, that's not okay. No, okay.
And you mean from a smell perspective, being
from
blunt?
a smell perspective, they can be pretty nasty. So, and I know Grangers actually, and as well as doing waterproof waterproofing products, you do a massive range, and there are solutions to your smelly base layers.
This is again is a favorite topic for me. We've taken these products to like 2 shows before now, and I think I was shocked actually. Like you say, Cathy, this people get really self-conscious, and I hadn't realized this before going to these shows. People get really self-conscious about smelly base layers. Part of that is we go to the gym, we go for a run, we go for a cycle, whatever we're doing, and we get these products really smelly, and then we throw them in the washing. Throw them in the washing pile till the end of the week, and then we do it with everything else. But we're like, again, we're talking these are quite fancy fabrics, and a lot of people were talking owning these fancy fabrics and just using your normal detergents. We've got I suppose we've got 2 products within our range that are really, really good for this. We've got like a merino wash, which is really good for your wool products. So again, like jumpers, like your base layers, your more technical layers. Artilect would be a really good example there with those ones. And again, we've got like an active wash again, which is I'm a massive fan of, which is specifically designed for those base layers and those sporty layers, really to help remove those smells associated with bacteria, but also restore the wicking back into the product again, so it's doing its job as it was when it left the shop floor.
Yeah, it can restore the wicking as well.
Yeah,
I suppose it unclogs the capillaries, doesn't it?
that's
Yeah.
exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's more to do with what's
Wayne's face.
Gonky, I
He's
know,
like,
I
oh,
know,
she's off
I know.
again.
Yeah, it was exactly that. I was like, here we go. Yeah, yeah.
where we get geeky.
It does, and actually, that's in fact, it is a really important point because we've mentioned this a few times already, and we've not followed up on it. And that's the waterproof jackets. Every single one of them said, "Do not use fabric conditioner."
Yes.
And one of the reasons why is because fabric conditioners will clog up the capillaries.
And that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah. So what we're doing is unclogging and putting the jacket back to where it should be. Yeah.
All right, okay. And it's yeah, I've got a merino base layer on underneath this, and I'm thinking, oh, does it? Yeah, how am I smelling at the moment? It's the I guess the other thing it's the oh, we'll say the brand. It's the heli, isn't it? The heli that's traditionally honks. I don't know if everyone the smelly heli. Yeah, I don't know
That's
whether
the traditional smelly heli, because that
yeah.
was entirely polypropylene,
Yeah.
which is an unbelievably effective wicking fabric.
Fantastic product.
Yeah, it is unbelievably.
Well, goodness, I must have a couple of those base layers that are 20
Yeah.
years or more old, and
Yeah.
but it's exactly as you described, Cathy. They smell fine when they're hung up or whatever, or in the drawer.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, within minutes of going out the door, you're just like, oh my God, I honk. It's just, yeah, it's absolutely. So, but yeah, I need to invest in some more Grangers products, evidently, too. I think, yeah.
I think it's
So-
that side for me. It's like you're doing these sports because you do it for the enjoyment aspect, and you do it because you want to be out there yourself. And it's more about, I think, from our side and from my side, the way I see it is we're just protecting people to get the best use out of their kit and out of their adventure as well. So again, for a base layer, you're removing that self-conscious side of someone. They can go out there and enjoy the sport properly. For the waterproofing, they're not focusing on worrying about stuff wetting out and getting and having to go back early. They can just crack on and enjoy the day.
Yeah. And I guess it's we've spoken with our other two guests, Cathy, about that point wetting out and versus and the sort of the beading then wetting out and how that's going to look in the new product. So we're not going to see our jackets, for example, beading in the same way as they did before, because it's the water's distributed differently. Was that right? From
So as far as longevity is concerned, so when your jacket's brand new, or when it's been freshly proofed or heat reactivated, you will see that beading that will work. It's unfortunately it's the contamination side that technology is just working really hard to come up with a solution for. So those initial treatments work brilliantly and excellently at what they do, but even oils from your hands, or if you're brushing against things in the environment, if you're crushing your waterproof down and rolling it up and popping it in your rucksack, taking it out again, all of those things are going to cause that DWR coating, that durable water repellent coating, to degrade, to contaminate and degrade. So that's when it can't physically bead up as well as it could do, and that's when you need to clean those chemicals out using your Grangers wash or other product. Other brands are available. We all have good friends at Knitwax as well, but that will actually wash out the oils, and then you can reproof your garment to boost that DWR, and your tumble dry and your cool iron, assuming the product will says you can do that, that will reactivate that treatment. So if you're wanting to have a garment that beads every time you go out, in the future as we progress, you may well need to start treating your jacket just like normal laundry. You're waterproof, so when you finish your walk, come in, wash it, or hang it up and give it a squirt with a reproofer. You don't need to put it through the washing machine. I'm kind of conscious of water usage on this as well. So you can just hang it up and give it a good squirt and leave ours drip dry in the garage, and then head out again, and you're good to go. So I think it's just that reproofing element, whereas in days of old we could just hang the garment up and leave it, and 15 years later it was fine. The reason it was fine was because those chemical components in that treatment on the outside of the jacket don't break down. They're very, very stable. Great for waterproof fabrics, bad for the environment, and we don't want that leaching out into our water courses and absorbing it by drinking. So and I suppose the other thing we did touch on as well, and is important to know, that when that beading stops, that doesn't mean that your waterproof jacket is no longer waterproof. It just means that the water that's hitting that coloured outer fabric of your waterproof garment is just laying in that coloured outer fabric. So the waterproof element of your jacket, which is the coating behind or the laminate behind, that's maybe sandwiched in between a mesh lining and that coloured fabric outside, that can't be penetrated by water unless it's punctured. So the water just sits on top, and that outer coloured fabric goes dark, and that's what we call wetting out. And it can feel a little heavier, it can feel a little clammier, and the reason for that clamminess is simply because the moisture that you're generating inside the jacket is it just can't pass out quite as efficiently as it can do when the water is beading off. That's the only difference. So as well as washing more frequently, reproofing more frequently with your products, people will need to be aware that they're going to need to actively layer underneath their jackets. So you can buy layers, no problem. You can buy a base layer, you can buy a mid layer, but what you're going to have to do is you're going to probably have to manage those more effectively while you're out and about enjoying your sport. As soon as you stop, put on a warm layer, put your waterproof over the top. When you start moving again, take your waterproof off, take off that layer, and then off you go again. So
it's a lot about habits, isn't it, really?
It's a lot about habits. It's just building it in, it's just what used to happen.
That's it. I think, again, like, it's where again, like you say, it's like when do we put a layer on? Like when we're outside, like when do you put the correct layer on? Like what do you go out wearing? What do you do when you get home? Like, and it's the same as like you say, like typically it might have been in the past, you might have the habit and the behavior process of I'll hang my jacket up and it'll be all right, I'll just leave it alone, and it's gradually getting grubby, smelly, but because of the way it's been treated, it's probably going to be okay for a while. Whereas these days, again, we look at something that's a bit more delicate in terms of how we look after it. And like you say, through adding our DWR, we're helping the product to breathe better there as well. And like you say, it's the membrane as well that we're trying to look after there as well. It's a two-part process there, isn't it, really? So I think it's encouraging people to do the right habits and make those changes to their behaviors. A good analogy again there would be that move from like diesel to electric cars and things like that as well, and looking at how people do that move over. So so it's just important. I think people just are thinking about the right sort of things and making the adjustments, really. So
And like say, not getting back after you've been out and just chucking your waterproofs in a cupboard, and making sure they're dried properly. And I used the example the other day of your boots. You got, if you've been out walking and your boots are covered in a bog and soaked through, you're going to do something to treat those. Well, it's the same. It's an investment when you've bought a jacket, for example. You need to treat that appropriately.
And that's if we were to look at, say, for instance, like the Peak District would be a great example. Like, it's quite an acidic soily peat down that way as well. So say if you're looking after your boots, stuff that people again don't think about, you put your boots away and you don't think about damage that's also going on in the boots when you're not wearing them. So going out in somewhere where it's quite acidic, like again, it's your stitching and things like that is something that we don't necessarily see the effect of till down the line. So like looking after those, like giving those a good clean, giving those a reproof, again, whether that's with a spray or if it's like a leather boot, like using an appropriate wax or something on it as well, something like that to help prolong the life of those boots. So
Yeah, and yeah, again, I think we've mentioned it here, but yeah, getting rid of like grit and dirt and any muck whatsoever off whatever piece of kit it is, I guess, isn't it? And yeah, you said about mountain biking. When you come back from mountain biking, you're gonna clean your
Yeah,
bike up afterwards. Well, you need to do the same with the other pieces of kit as well. And yeah,
exactly.
I have stood in the shower fully clothed before, just for that for a similar reason. When you've you just covered in bog basically, and yeah, you've got trail shoes on, just to hose everything off, and then
That's it.
that's great afterwards, though, isn't it? When the shower's full of anyway,
That's it.
but yeah, it's just making sure we're cleaning that off, and then undertaking that process of washing it. I guess one of the things that struck me when both of you've been talking as well has been um the old favorite of making sure the detergent drawer is clean of what detergent before you proof your product, because obviously the water's flushing through there, and any detergent that's left in there is going to affect your kit when it's in there. So you've got that's always a nice job, isn't it? Pulling the drawer out and giving that a
That's it.
clean.
That's it. Again, you can just use like again giving the drawer a clean. That's so just using like a just use some kitchen oil, just give it a good clean out, give it the washing machine a quick spin, just to make sure there's nothing sort of in the machine, and then crack on as normal. Really be confident in what you're doing. Yeah,
You
and
can
give it.
actually wash your waterproof garment and service your washing machine at the same time. Winner. Absolute winner.
That.
There we go.
Service your washing machine.
Well,
What?
not service, so maintain, not
No,
service. Yeah,
no, no.
sorry,
But
wrong word.
same
Maintain.
same principle applies. Maintained. What would
Definitely.
do to a washing machine? Yeah, yeah. So I guess that's just because otherwise you're just completely defeating the object or making it worse for your piece of kit, isn't it? And and I know I think I did have a cheap piece of kit that I just put in the washing machine and ruined it because it just got detergented up, I think is probably,
Mm.
or it just removed everything on
Oh.
the out on yeah.
So
So
Yeah.
yeah,
we have a podcast special offer actually with this particular episode. We have obviously when we sell a waterproof garment in our shops, we have a small single-use proofer that we give away as part of the course. However, the lovely folk at Grangers have agreed from in between now and Kendal Film Festival at the end of November, any Grangers product in our shops will have a 10% discount on. So regardless whether you're proofing your footwear, whether you're proofing your waterproofs, whether you're washing your base layer, your tent, your down items, everything is covered by that 10%. That's live now, online and in our shops. And as I say, that will go all the way through until the end of November. And actually, Tim, we will get to speak to you at Kendal Film Festival as well, where we will be recording a whole host of podcasts. It can be a very
I'm gonna
busy
be
few days.
busy. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my word, a
Good stuff.
recite. We are so
yeah.
looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it also. Yeah, can't wait to see what you're up to. Can't wait to see what you're up to.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
going to
I think
be so much fun. But I think for now, we just want to say a really big thanks, Tim, for joining us on the Outdoor Gear Chat podcast.
thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thank you for having us.
Brilliant. Cheers, Tim.
Yeah, I think from our side as well, super happy to support Cathy in that. We're super keen in getting people to give it a go, have a go at looking after your own garments and build that confidence looking after your products. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Amazing. So you can find out more on our website. Well, first of all, you can take advantage of the discount on Grangers product and have a very happy weekend staying in and maintaining your products and your washing machine. And that is all available on www.climbers-shop.com. Or we have our sister website where there's a wealth of information on how to look after all of your kit, how to proof. There's a step-by-step guide on how to wash your waterproofs, and that is at www.joebrownoutdooracademy.com.